Welcome, everyone. It is 7:30, and it's time to call our May City Council meeting to order. We don't have a lot of controversial things on the agenda, but we have a lot of moving parts tonight, so just be gentle with us as we try to get through some recognitions and other actions. And so thank all of y'all for being here. We're going to start by giving the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and if you could remain standing after that, I'm going to give the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everybody could bow their head. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you for this opportunity to gather together as a community tonight. I'm thankful for every member of this council and the wisdom that they bring to the discussion that we are going to have tonight. Lord, let our decisions be made with you in mind, and in everything that we do, let us exhibit your love and character to those in our community. For it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, the first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Have a motion from Mr. Hicks. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Avery. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, next order of business is approval of our minutes for the April 8th council meeting and executive session, as well as the work session on April the 1st. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I have a motion from Mr. Anderson. Is there a second? Second from Josh. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Very good. Next, we'll move on to awards, presentations, and proclamations, and I think I have all of them tonight, so just be patient with me as we get through them. The first is something that I'm excited to talk about, and we have some special guests here tonight, as well as someone that we are recognizing. Each year, the Georgia Soil and Water Conservation Commission, I got it right, GSWCC, gives out a Local Issuing Authority of the Year award. And this year's recipient for 2024 was the city of Sugar Hill. And I want to read, I was not there, but I want to read what was read that evening, so you kind of have a better understanding of why the city received the award. It says, the Local Issuing Authority of the Year award goes to an LIA that sets an example in erosion and sediment control and MPDES permitting and compliance. And there are a lot of acronyms on here, and I have no idea what they mean, but I'm going to read them anyways. The LIA this year has a total area of 10.6 square miles with a little over 25,000 residents. This LIA has not missed a semi-annual report, continually reporting since 2008. This LIA has done 3,468 site inspections, citing 1,344 non-compliant sites, keeping their creeks and ponds clean while letting development continue safely, not affecting residents or businesses around them. This LIA has kept their model ordinance up to date with 4 revisions since 2001, with the last change in 2018 as required by the state. The LIA attends every district meeting and makes it a priority to report their numbers correctly. These reports are so well liked by the district supervisors that are elected and appointed in that area that this LIA's reports are now the model for other LIAs to use in that district. This LIA also has had all passing overviews with no reports of needs planned for improvement or failing. The LIA is always willing to go above and beyond to help its citizens. And this year, it goes to the city of Sugar Hill. And we have Ellis LeMay here with the Gwinnett Soil and Water Conservation District. And then also, I have Ben Rusovic from the Georgia Soil Water Conservation Commission. And then, of course, we have Ms. Kim Landers, who is a native to Sugar Hill, and this is something that she works on quite often, and I would imagine that the award has a lot to do with the good work that she does in our community. And so we'd love for y'all to come up front here, and if you don't mind, if you can hold this award and have a picture taken with everybody, would that be okay? Good. All city council, if you don't mind.
Alrighty, 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
On behalf of the Soil and Water Conservation District in Grant County, we're very proud of the city of Sugar Hill. They've done an outstanding job. I want to thank the mayor and council for allowing their citizens to be taught about conservation and to think about it every day. We don't have that much time, and the Lord gave us this earth, and we're supposed to take care of it. That's all I have to say, Mayor, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kim, give you a hug with your husband.
All right, next from a presentation standpoint, I want to take a moment to talk about this award that the city received. This is from the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, and each year they give out a conservation award, and the city of Sugar Hill was the recipient this year, and it was specifically related to the work that we did out at Gold Mine Park to conserve our gold mining history. As well as some other projects around the city. And so a great recognition. They always do everything as beautifully as they can, and as you can see, this is a great award to receive. I don't have any daughters here tonight, but we do have one member of the Historic Preservation Society, Stephanie Isaacs, and they played a big role in preserving that gold mine and also educating residents about it. So thank you. All right, next, which is something that is kind of bittersweet. We have some youth council seniors that are going to be graduating this year, and they're going to be leaving us to go off to college and to do some other amazing things in their life. And I think Councilmember Hicks and I realize, and everybody does, that we have these young people for a short period of time, and then they go on, and hopefully they'll come back and they'll impact their communities in the future. And so Councilmember Hicks and I are going to come up front, and we have some presentation cords, some graduation cords to give out.
Yep.
Good Councilmember Hicks fashion, he said, we are going to make them say some things before they do this. So first, I'd like to recognize Madison Regas. And this past year, Madison served as secretary for the Youth Council. Next to her is Skylar McLeod. Please step forward. Skylar served as our Mayor Pro Tem this past year. And then last but certainly not least is Riley Christie. Could you? All right, so what would you like for them to talk about?
Oh, man. So, again, I like to put them on the spot because they do such an amazing job of just advocating for themselves, advocating for the city, and they've been such amazing. And I'll save my part for council reports, but I want them to just share a little bit of us about their tenure with the youth council.
I can go ahead and kick off. This year, I was the mayor of the Sugar Hill Youth Council. I really have come up and matured through this group. This is my third year on the council. I started as a sophomore, and that person is completely different than who I am today. And I definitely have youth council to thank for that. This group has definitely been like a pathway for me. I've never been involved in something that got me so close to local government, and it really solidified what I want to do in the future. So I'm forever grateful to youth council, our incredible advisors, Mr. Nix, Jason, Victoria, for an incredible 3 years, and I'll definitely miss this group a lot.
Ms. Skylar.
Hi, I just want to talk a little bit about my experience on the youth council. I remember being, like I said, in city council meetings in fifth grade, aspiring to be a part of the youth council, but I found out I was too young, so I couldn't actually wait 2 years. But I finally signed up sophomore year, and I was able to make it with gradually started together, and I've just matured so much over the years, and I'm just so grateful for this program. I've learned so much, and I'm definitely not the same person that I was before. And I'm just so thankful for the amazing friendships that I've made, the amazing connections I made with Mr. Grace, Brandon, and Gray, just like everyone here. And I'm just so thankful for the impact that we've made on the youth council of the city. So thank you for
Madison? Yep.
Hi everyone, I'm Madison, and the Youth Council has been hands down one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I haven't been serving for 3 years, I've only been serving for 2, but over these past 2 years, I can confidently say that the Youth Council has been a consistent joy in my life, and I wouldn't trade the experience for the world. These people that I've been able to meet through Youth Council have forever changed my life, and I'm so grateful for every single bit of it. So thank you guys.
Before I give it back over to Councilmember Hicks to say some closing words, I just want to say thank you to him. He has served as the city council liaison for the entire time that you've served on city council, but more so, I think, as a mentor to all of the youth council members that have gone through over the last couple of years. And so he's done an amazing job. If you know Mr. Hicks in the community, he's a great coach, he's a great mentor, he's a great teacher, and so he has brought a lot of value to the youth council. And so, Mr. Hicks.
Well, thanks.
Yep.
So, when I was first elected, city manager, Mr. Rafford, said, hey, we need to appoint someone to youth council, and we think that you would be the best person for the job. And begrudgingly, I said yes, because I didn't know what to expect, right? And so I would say when I took on the role, well, let me back up. Prior to me getting elected, this group actually interviewed me when I was running for city council. It was probably one of the best experiences I've had actually through my campaign. But again, I mean, the mayor said that how I'm, such a big advocate for them and support for them. But I felt that I've been learning so much over the past 2 years and being a part of their lives. They're such amazing students. They're great individuals. They're great role models to the younger kids that come through the city. And again, these three have led the way because Dobermair's not here, has led the way for the upcoming seniors and the rest of the youth council that is here today. So I'm super proud of each one of them, their accomplishments, but it doesn't end here. They're going to go on to be amazing young ladies and contributions to to just them as a whole. Actually, Madison is actually going to study abroad in Czech Republic, so I'm super proud of her. Riley is actually going to Georgia Tech, where she's going to go and pursue her studies. And Skylar is going to Kennesaw State, and where she's going to go and pursue her studies. So again, I'm super proud of each one of them, what they're going to do and what they're going to continue to keep doing. And so I'm just wanted to say thank y'all for the time that you've shared with me.
I would love to do a couple pictures with you. First one with Alvin, and then I'd love to call the rest of City Council down if you don't mind. All right, next we're going to move on to reports, and I'll start with Mr. Hartley, the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report.
I knew you were going to say that, so I left my microphone on. All right, next we'll ask city council to give their reports, and I'll start with Mr. Page.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have a large report tonight. First, of course, I want to extend a happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there and, of course, all the motherly figures that we all have in our lives. So hopefully that was a wonderful day. I know my wife had a wonderful first Mother's Day, so very pleasant day. Second, I do want to recognize our city marshals just for being present in our parks, in our schools, being present downtown. Really appreciate what y'all are doing. Feels like every time I'm out and about, doesn't matter what time, I'm seeing a marshal, so really appreciate that. And a lot of people don't know, they have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, so really appreciate just their quick response and communication, all that. So really appreciate Chief King and her staff, so thank you. And lastly, do want to recognize and thank our events and bowl staff. If you have not seen our calendar, we had a full April, we've got a full May, I think we have a fuller June and July. There is a ton of stuff going out and about in Sugar Hill the next couple months. So I hope you come downtown. It's great to see downtown looking alive and everybody down here. It's a great time, lots of different places you can be at. If you don't want to go see a show or an event, go downtown, check out one of our restaurants. So with that, Mayor, I'll conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Page. Ms. Avery, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have no report this month, but I would like to echo everything Joshua Page said, and did a great job. And I would definitely agree with what's going on in Sugar Hill and get involved, whether it's an event or here at a council meeting. Stay involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Avery. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. First, for the Riverlands Authority, in our recently concluded May meeting, we did select the consultant that will be helping with the master planning process. We are going to have some public input during that process, coming up this month, in fact. So keep your eye out for that. There'll be a couple of opportunities for public input into our Riverlands master plan, which we're really excited about. This is going to really be a great asset for our community, taking advantage of our property along the river and activating that space with a lot of green space, a lot of activities, a lot of outdoor activities, hiking, biking, things like that. So please get involved, pay attention, and give your feedback when those opportunities arise. And the other thing I had was I had the opportunity, along with Councilmember Avery and Councilmember Hicks and the mayor, to welcome several students second grade students from the Lanier Cluster into our downtown, into our businesses, into City Hall. They toured my business, which is located in the East Center. It's a civil engineering firm and land surveying firm, and we got to talk about engineering and encouraging kids to continue their studies in STEM. And as we know, the Lanier Cluster is a superstar in STEM studies, and so getting to talk to those kiddos about engineering, about how we design our infrastructure, the roads, and our underground sewer, water, and stormwater infrastructure was a lot of fun. Had a great time with them. Unbelievable for second graders, the questions that we got and the connections that they made. And Councilmember Avery and Councilmember Hicks shared a great story of them making a connection about how to improve downtown and add a park downtown, and then they had even suggested, well, why doesn't Blue Land Works do that? And that was really a cool connection that they even thought of that as second graders, that they were paying that close of attention. So that was a lot of fun. So I appreciated that opportunity. I appreciate the mayor asking me to do that. We had a great time.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Hicks?
Thanks, Mayor. Definitely just starting off echoing the second grade field trip was amazing, from all three of our local cluster elementary schools. It was such a great time of seeing the kids is very attentive and learning and just being engaged. It was super inspiring to see that. Sugar Hill Elementary actually walked down here on our greenway, right? And so, again, just having that relationship with our local government, with our schools, is something that I have never seen in any other city, county across. So, but amazing job from all of you. I won't spend a lot of time on the Youth Council because they have an amazing report that they're going to share tonight, so I'll leave that for them. Next Wednesday does actually end school for Gwinnett County, and so we will have a lot of kids that will be out, and I know the city the events team have things that's planned for it as well, but I just wanted to just make sure that we're aware of that. I want to echo Councilmember Josh on the marshals, an amazing group of individuals, number one, but again, the engagement and the community involvement that is always seen by them is something that I must commend. Again, they're always available to assist in any needs, but also just seeing them in our schools, partnering with our schools, partnering with our churches, and all of that is something that I must applaud. So great job, Chief King, from you and your team. Amazing job. The spring cleanup, I felt that was actually a hit. There was a lot of things that went really well with that. Definitely just gauging it from my community, but also the feedback that I've received from other communities as well. There was little small hiccups of things that was quickly rectified and through Waste Management. So I've received a lot of calls like, hey, Alvin, do I call you city or do I call Waste Management? And so, again, we were able to kind of navigate that path. But Waste Management, I felt, did an amazing job of that, and that great opportunity that we have with the spring cleanup went really well. But also to compliment our streets department for now they're getting a lot more active as well with our yard debris cleanup. And so they're doing such an amazing job of going through our neighborhoods and staying active with doing a more of a routine pickup now, being that we are in our warmer month. So an amazing job from that team as well. And lastly, I had just a little short story in regards to, I was at a work event and I was out and I was with a team that was actually here from abroad, and I was with a gentleman that actually lives over in Alpharetta. And actually, it was cold. We were out at Top Golf, and I had my Sugar Hill pullover on. And the gentleman said, Sugar Hill, man, you guys have such an amazing golf course. And so he actually was taking the international team over to Sugar Hill Golf Course because he said that that is one of the best golf courses he's ever played. He doesn't live in our community. He said he's played tons of courses throughout the state. And he said for the amount that you pay, it's one of the best golf course and well-kept golf course that he's ever played on. And so that was something that I was basically smiling about, and that, it was just really commendable to hear someone that's not within our city, that's telling someone that's international to go and play at our golf course was, I thought that should be shared. So great job from the rec parks and rec team for that management. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Mr. Perkle.
Thank you. I'll just keep it short and just give one more final shout out to all the mothers out there that do such a great job with all of us, making our city a great place to be. Congratulations and thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkle. And I think I'm up next, and I have a few slides with some pictures like I normally do, and I think Mr. Awana is going to bring it up. And I also want to just say thank you to everybody that participated in not just the second grade visits to City Hall in the downtown, but also the fourth grade visits. And Miss Avery was participating in both of those. And just thank you. It was great. And I'll ask you to go ahead and advance to the first slide. And so I wanted to just show you some pictures. This was a tradition that was started by Steve Edwards, I don't know how many years ago, maybe when he served on city council and before he became the mayor, but for a long time we've had a tradition of inviting prom students for both Lanier and North Gwinnett high schools to come and take pictures at City Hall and in the downtown area. And it's usually difficult because they have their proms on different nights. Well, this year, thankfully, they had their prom on the same night. And I'm thankful to my wife, Tara. She participated in this with me, and I'm glad because 90% of the folks that came down to get pictures were the young ladies, and she was much better at handling that than I was. And we literally had hundreds of prom students that came to get their pictures, and you can see parents outside in front of City Hall taking a picture of one of the participants, and then, of course, these young ladies on our stairs within City Hall. So great tradition that I'm thankful that we have had for a good number of years. And I'm proud of all of our students at both the high schools that serve our community, and we have some of the very best schools in our part of the county. Next, Kaipo. Want to give a special thanks to the Lanier Middle School peer leaders. If you don't know Miss Jennifer Diaz, she is one of the school counselors at Lanier Middle School. She does a great job with those students. They've had a tough year. They had a student suicide at the beginning of the year, and that's never an easy thing to deal with as a school community, but Jennifer has pulled everybody together, and the peer leaders played a big role in that, and they just wanted to do something where they collaborated together, and we did I guess essentially a sweep day where we walked Level Creek and picked up cans and whatever it is that we could find that had got caught in the stormwater and carried down the stream, and I'm just thankful for all of those kids and for their hard work that they put in that day. Next slide. Next, I want to thank Girl Scout Troop 20587. I happened to be running one night the Greenway and was going through Goldmine Park, and they recognized me. On Arbor Day, they planted 4 cherry trees as a troop at Goldmine Park, and they wanted to get a picture with me, and I was glad to do so. These young ladies are also going to be helping us put flags out on veterans' graves before our Memorial Day ceremony as well. So it's a great connection to make, and one that I think will definitely continue in the future. Some of these girls are from Arbor Claus and Barrington Estates and some other subdivisions. Mr. Awana. Next, I just wanted to say thank you to Kieran O'Hearn. He is a member of Boy Scout Troop 1534. Over the weekend, he did his Eagle Scout project out in front of the Sweet Spot. They planted a pollinator garden, and it looks absolutely fantastic. There's some more things to do, like putting down mulch once this rainy weather stops, but I think it's going to be a pretty good look at that corner, and hope that y'all will take a chance to maybe go and take a look at it. And of course, Kieran's a great kid. He has two other brothers that are younger than him that are in Boy Scouts, and they're already thinking about their Eagle Scout projects as well. Next slide. And then I think this might be close to my last. I might have an update on some upcoming events, but Councilmember Hicks and I, we were fortunate to be involved in this 5th grade flag football event at Lanier High School. All 3 of our elementary schools in the Lanier cluster played against each other. And the cool thing about this is that they are obviously going to be going to Lanier Middle School together next year, but some of the students in the 3 schools have never met each other, and this was an opportunity for them to gather together for a day and to play football. And then we served them pizza after the football game, and it was just a great event. This is the first time that they've ever done it, and they're going to be doing it again. And funny enough, some of the high school coaches were out there watching some of these young men play football, and they were literally recruiting them and getting them interested in high school football. And I think we need that pipeline, so that's pretty cool. All right, next slide. All right, here's just some upcoming activities I just wanted to put up there. Tomorrow, May the 15th, which is 2 nights from now, the 6th and 7th grade orchestra for Lanier Middle School will actually be playing at Lanier High School. And I can guarantee you, if you're a council member and you show up for these kids, they remember it and they are thankful for it. We have the Lanier versus Duluth spring football scrimmage at Lanier High School on May the 16th. That's going to be a big game for football. And then, of course, we have the Road Trip Rhapsody concert coming up on May the 21st, and that is put on by our Broad Street band, which is absolutely amazing. And then you know that I love 5Ks. We've got 2 5Ks coming up, the Mimosas 5K on June 8th and the Made in the U.S. 5K. Both of those are being put on by the distillery, and I know that they would love for participation if you are a runner. And that is it. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the city clerk for her report. Ms. Whittington.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few short things. The city business license office issued 13 new licenses in the month of April. They were various businesses, some home-based, located throughout the city. There's also 192 passports issued in the month of April. For appointments, you can visit the website or call City Hall main number. And also the City Hall and the city offices will be closed for Memorial Day on May 27th. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Whittington. Next, the city manager's report, Mr. Radford.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. Since we recognized the youth council grads tonight, I think we all know from experience this won't be the last time we hear from them. They seem to develop an affinity and a love for their city, and they want to get back and get actively involved. And we can speak to that. We have several of our former youth council members that are actually working for the city. Lexi Dakota was a youth council member several years ago, is a part-time person working in our facilities department. Riley, who's here tonight, is part-time working with our downtown area, basically helping manage the Sweet Spot. And Maya Lauren, who is in college over at Queen's College in England, will be returning home and once again working this summer in our downtown managed downtown office. And then Isabella Sanchez is back. She worked part-time last year. She's now a part-timer this summer as a venue assistant working with Avery and her staff. And What I'd like to do is also just recognize two of our staff members that were recent graduates of the Gwinnett Chamber Young Professionals Journey Leadership Academy, Alexis Torres and Lee Morgan. Both work in our, Alexis works in our communications and marketing department, and Lee works in events over in the theater. And we have some other staff members that have been through this in the past, Victoria Richburg and Cam Cam Cohen actually participated in that. It is so wonderful to see our young staff members participating in leadership academies of this reputation. But I'm extraordinarily pleased and blessed and honored that our youth council members who go on and succeed academically, but also want to come back and participate in our community. When you had the prom pictures the other night, one of the other venues that folks like to get their picture taken in is the Eagle Theater. Unfortunately, the Eagle was busy that night, couldn't do it, but obviously City Hall is a wonderful place for those photos, and it's wonderful to see them, how many we have and how it continues to grow in terms of as Instagram spot. With that, I would like to also then I gave a detailed report on events last week. I would like to refer you to our Downtown Happenings email that tells you all the activities that are going on in May and coming June. And as Councilmember Page just said a few minutes ago, it is chock full of things that for everybody, from young children to adults who are remembering music they used to listen to. So with that, I'd like to ask Troy to give us an update on projects, and particularly we'll get Andy to give us a recreation update. And Councilmember Hicks, I appreciate that comment about the golf course. Our staff is taking great pride in its conditioning, and it is performing extraordinarily well. Even when we have bad rainy weeks, we still are exceeding rounds of play from what we have in previous years. So my hat's off to the staff. With that, I'll conclude my report and turn it over to Troy.
Thank you, Mr. Radford. I had some technical difficulties last Monday night, so I apologize for that. I'll make up for it by going over a few projects that I picked over, one of which is a road project that is wrapping up in the downtown next to the E-Center and connects our downtown West Broad Street, Alton Tucker Boulevard with Highway 20. As you see on the screen, that most of the road alignment has been completed. We were waiting on a few items before we put the asphalt topping down and finish out with the striping. I do want to call attention to the corner that Mayor Hembry mentioned as the subject of the Eagle Scout project. That's at the top center of the image, and that's a really nice focal point in front of the old City Hall building that is now the Sweet Spot. But it is looking very nice. It's part of some downtown gathering spaces we're creating as a part of this project. You'll also see in the image the new landscaping that was installed recently. I'd like to thank Andy McQuaig and his Parks and Rec staff for helping guide that, but you'll see some of that installed in front of the Great Beginnings parking lot to the left, and then in the next few images you'll see wraps around closer to Alton Tucker and then down to Highway 20. There are a good number of brick pavers that were a part of the project. We have moved most of them. There are some that remain that we are waiting to finish until the utility relocation was completed late last week. There were some underground utilities on the north side of Alton Tucker that had to be relocated, handholds, I believe, are what they're called. But Charter and AT&T came through for us last week, got those set to the right elevation back in the sidewalk, and the driveway and sidewalk were poured, and that gets us to a place where we can pave the road now. We're in the home stretch on this project. I do want to go ahead and show you one of the updated images I think Mr. Hembry shared earlier with the planting and landscaping and the mulching that is going to take place at that corner. The other focal point of the road project is the signalization of Highway 20 and Stanley to the north side of the image, top of the image, and what we are designating Alton Tucker Boulevard to the south bottom of the image there. Signal equipment is on standby, ready to go in once we have all the utilities relocated and paving scheduled. Then the signal subcontractor will come in and install and get ready to activate. We will wait until after school's out next week before we get there. We're probably 2 or 3 weeks away from that happening. And we'll provide adequate notice to the traveling public before we activate anything in that area. One other project that is currently active is a stream bank restoration project at Gary Perkle Park. There is a side of Richland Creek that is eroding close to the driveway from Austin Garner Road, and we do anticipate armoring and providing some vegetative support for that side of the stream. And we have gone through the permitting process with the Corps of Engineers and with EPD for the buffer encroachment permit. That has been received, and we are now in the bid phase. Those bids will come in at the end of May on the 23rd. This is the area. It is in a floodway, so it's got some high velocities in that area. And then also we're just cognizant of the fact that it is in the dam breach zone for Saddle Dike number 3. That concludes my construction update, but I would like to offer Andy's quick update on Parks and Recreation and golf and splash pad. While he's making his way up, I will just ask him to touch on a few other things to make sure we are updating the community garden as well. And so he's going to touch on all things Parks and Rec.
Mayor Council, how's everyone doing? Parks and Rec, it's a lot of fun. Spring is sprung and we're all outside and nice weather. Good mention seeing everybody outside. Sports have gone great this year. All of our partnerships, whether outside at the park or inside at the gym, fabulous season. I actually went out to Purple tonight, an hour before. Really nice seeing it filled and everyone running around and enjoying. Adding items to our greenway has happened over the last month. Added some restroom components to the restrooms that were needed. Added benches for our picnic out there. Also added some trash cans.
Thank you, Mr. McClegg. Is that it, Mr. Radford? All right, great. We'll move on to the Youth Council report. Thank you, ladies.
Good evening again. So we took a video of this championship project that we talked to you guys about last week. So I'm going to go ahead and let that play, and then we'll kind of cover what the video does. Back before our city of Sugar Hill was even created, it was a small town called Oresville. And during that time, we had the historic southern red oak there, now nicknamed Sugar Hill's champion tree. The tree is believed to be at least 190 years old, and we decided to create a project within this space.
Our goal with the Champion Tree Project is to activate green space in our city and bring the community together to enhance involvement downtown.
Our first installment of the project was this Lovelock structure, designed so that every resident of Sugar Hill that drives by feels a sense of warmth and belonging. We wanted to spread love throughout our community by these Lovelocks, which every citizen can come and put on and spread their love for Sugar Hill. We decided to incorporate a little library inside of our park to encourage reading amongst our youth and adult audience. Inside the box, we have placed some of our own favorite books with little notes from each of us. We decided on the design and the painting together as a youth council, and below you can see some more of our community painted rocks.
The addition of the bench is perfectly suited for outside, as you can sit here and enjoy all the beauty that Sugar Hill has to offer. You can read books and relax and further your imagination.
Right here, the centerpiece of our project are these rocks. They were painted by you, the community. These rocks are here to help beautify this tree and just make it stand out. They were painted by children, young adults, and skilled artisans. Although the project is about the tree, at the end of the day, these rocks represent the community.
But of course, we couldn't have gotten any of this accomplished without the help of the Public Works Department of Sugar Hill. They were there for us throughout the whole journey and helped us accomplish everything that we needed to.
We call this the Lovelock structure because we want you, the community, to be able to come down here and place locks on it, to really symbolize the relationships that make Sugar Hill.
Great project, thank you.
Pretty much the only thing that we have unfinished with this project is the locks, which we are currently in the process of handing out. You guys will each get a lock to be able to go and put down on our Lovelock structure, and we're also currently collaborating with local community groups to get those locks out as well. Other than that, we are pretty much done. This project has been so much fun. Probably my favorite thing I've done with Youth Council, and it's really cool to see something physically in the ground and be able to know that future youth councils will keep up with it and care for it just as much as we have.
Ladies, great job, thank you. All right, that is our last report, and we'll now move on to citizens and guest comments. Any guest or citizen that would like to speak, they have up to 3 minutes. Yes, sir. Let's start with the front here.
Good evening. My name is James January. I live at 1282 Frontier Drive, Sugar Hill. Comments one, Mr. Page, of course, mentioned our city marshals. We're certainly glad to have those folks here. As a resident of Frontier Forest, I'd certainly like to see them spend more time in our neighborhoods. Frontier Drive is kind of like the backstretch at Road Atlanta. Stop signs seem to be completely optional. It would be really nice. I don't know what powers those folks have in terms of traffic enforcement, but it'd certainly be nice to maybe surprise some of these violators on occasion and give them something to think about in terms of a ticket. But my main comment tonight has to do with, it's item number 1 on old business on this benefits package that's, I guess, was approved in 2018. The part of it, to me, that's most disturbing, of course, is that you folks can participate in that. And it's nothing personal against any of you. I just think it's absurd that part-time and very part-time people who are not really employees of the city get to participate in something that should be for those who truly work for the city. you know, the problem we have now is this goes back to 2018, and that means that burden is accruing at the rate of $2,500 a year. If you take 5 councilmen and the mayor, that's $2,500, a little over $2,500 a year. That means that our current burden is something like $12,600, and that by 2038, that burden is going to be over $50,000 and will continue to grow at that $2,500 a year rate until some of you start meeting the maker. I think that's extremely unfair to the citizens. It's more unfair to the part-time employees, not only in the city, but all of those employees who pay taxes in the city who never get a chance to draw a pension. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. January. Anybody else? Yes, yes, sir. And for the record, just please state your name and address. And
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Jared Thompson, 5283 Underway. My topic is on code enforcement. I've been talking with Caleb Harris, and we've had a couple of illegal signs taken down throughout Sugar Hill. The most recent one I mentioned, we seem to be at a disagreement of. It's 4969 West Broad Street. I went ahead and did a FOIA request, pulled a permit, and they do have a permit. It was apparently a bakery in Sugar Hill. That sign is now down, and the permit was specifically just for that sign. They now have some propaganda flags up on their roof and a banner and sign. Those are not covered by that permit. Caleb says he believes they are. And if you look through the zoning ordinance, section 1309, it says the purpose of this is to provide for the harmonious display of signs within the community and the natural beauty of the environment. Further in section 1301, it says it shall be unlawful to substantially change or erect a sign without a permit. Clearly, the sign that was specified in the permit that was granted is no longer there. It is a different sign in location, color, and I believe it's in violation. I would love for someone to escalate this or talk about it. It's a bit of an eyesore. Also, last comment, in the ordinances, I'm kind of surprised there's not anything that says the sign must pertain to the business. So one's mind can run wild with what a business could put up, and that could open up another can of worms. But mainly, I believe that location is in violation. Their signs should be taken down that do not comply with the permit that was applied for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomason. Yes, next. And if you could just give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jackie Daniels. I'm at 5872 Sycamore Ridge Drive. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So I have spoke to Mayor Hemry in the past about pollinators, and I was very pleased to hear that about the pollinator garden that the Scouts put up. And I do need to email you about some projects possibly in the future. And I just wanted to say that it's a little too late this year, but next year, if you guys do want to put up like a bee house, like, you know, the pollinators come in and they lay their eggs. I do have a home business, and I would donate that for the city in the future. I guess that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. That'd be great. Yes. Please just give your name and address for the record.
All right, well, good evening, neighbors. I'm Judge Kim Galan. I live at 6017 Eagles Rest Trail. I am running for an open seat for the Superior Court, and I just wanted to take an opportunity to come and say good evening. So thank you, Mayor and Council and staff, for giving me an opportunity just to say hello. It is nice to be home. I've been making the rounds this campaign season, visiting the other city councils, and it's certainly nice to sort of be ending the campaign here at home in Sugar Hill. I would be remiss if I didn't remind you and all of our guests that early voting is currently underway. It ends on Friday, and of course, Election Day will be on Tuesday. I am running for an open seat on the Superior Court, but I've been a judge for about 9 years, currently serve as a magistrate court judge. I've done everything from signing arrest warrants, search warrants at 2 a.m., to sitting on landlord-tenant, bad checks, dispossessory, garnishments, small claims. I presided over state court, juvenile court, recorder's court, was an associate judge in Suwanee, and the chief judge of the city of Snellville. So I've done a little bit of everything. Currently, I sit by designation as a Superior Court judge. So I've been doing that for the last 4 years, and so I'm looking to be elected to that position. Personally, I obviously live here in Sugar Hill. I'm a mom. My 2 kids attend the North Cluster. I've been a Girl Scout troop leader for the last 11 years, so I love seeing you run into some of our troops and see some Girl Scouts here in the audience. But I've been doing that for 11 years and currently serve as the president of our North Gwinnett Schools Foundation. So thank you so much for just giving me a minute to say hello and introduce myself, and I appreciate all the work you guys do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gallant. Is there anybody else? All right, if not, we'll close citizens and guest comments, and we'll move on. We have no consent agenda. We do have some old business, and that is the defined benefit retirement plan restatement, and I know we talked about this a lot last month, but I'll give the floor to Mr. Radford if he would like to explain anything in addition to what he's already explained.
I'll just briefly indicate that we are one of some 290 cities that participate with the Georgia Municipal Association's Employee Benefits System defined benefit plan. And in order to continue its tax qualified status for retirement plans, all participating employers, like the City of Sugar Hill, must re-adopt their plans using the most recent IRS-approved document templates. Those templates are in your package. One of it is the adoption agreement, and the second one is the service credit purchase addendum, which include the benefit and eligibility provisions that you currently have in place for the city. So with that, I asked for your favorable consideration of re-adopting the plan using the IRS-approved templates to authorize the mayor to sign and the city attorney to sign in form. And with that, I would place it back in your court. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Radford. Any questions of Mr. Radford? All right, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve the defined benefit plan excluding elected officials.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Perkle. Is there a second?
I would like to second that and add discussion.
All right, discussion is after a second, so don't need to ask for it, but I'll definitely open it up for discussion. All right, we have a motion from Mr. Perkle, a second from Ms. Avery. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, Mr. Page.
Mr. Radford, I think this is a question for you. I know, we're under a time crunch. GMA gave us a deadline of May 27th to get this back to them. I know the motion is here to take away the elected officials. Is this the best way to do this? Or, I mean, I'm not sure if we've already engaged GMA on, can we just simply say, mark it out and send it back to them? Or do we have to redo a whole new plan with them?
My observation is that you should re-adopt the plan with the template provided by the IRS without amendment. Because if you're doing it without amendment, then you're going to ask the Georgia Municipal Association is going to have to take action to do that as well. I would suggest you re-adopt the plan and then submit it as is. However, then have a separate motion that would call for removal of elected officials under the plan, but as a separate action, not part of the re-adoption of the existing plan.
Thank you, Mr. Page. Any other?
I'd like to follow up with that. I did speak to the administrator a month or so ago and asked about this, and what they said we could do is just pass it as we're talking about removing elected officials, but they would like to send us a clean form, and then we'll resend them the clean form because they want their attorney to send the form. But there was not a requirement to take a separate step.
All right, and I'm assuming that we don't have a clean form, so.
They'll send it to us.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I've been reading this retirement plan, several paragraphs, especially the ones about the elected officials. And I just want to say personally, I was a little bit surprised because the ordinance calls for this plan for the employees of the city of Sugar Hill. And although we receive a stipend every month, I didn't really consider myself an employee. When I think of employees, I think of the people who come here to City Hall every day. And we have several part-time employees who put in, their time and effort every day. I think that elected officials, in my eyes, would also be considered part-time employees. So I have a problem with accepting being a part of this plan as a part-time employee, but yet a regular part-time employee is not. And I would like to mention that the full-time employees, who are those who work 32 to 40 hours a week, of course, are eligible for this plan once they have worked here for 5 years. And I think that's important. I think it's important for the employees, when you're looking for a job, you're looking for a package. You're looking for salary, employees, location, retirement, salary. Most people need to be gainfully employed. So you look at a whole package, and you must work and look at this package. As an elected official, I chose to become an elected official. And this is not something I absolutely have to do, unlike an employee. And a neighbor of mine was asking me about this tonight, and he said something that really made an impact on me. He said, well, really, he said, I don't consider you an employee of the city. He said, the registered voters employed you. They voted for you to represent the citizens. So he said, I feel like it's the taxpayers who employed you. And I thought that was very profound, and I tend to agree with that. As mentioned earlier, this plan's been in effect since 2018, and eligible employees do have 120 days within the eligibility time to opt out of the plan. And to date, there have been no elected officials who have opted out. I have submitted my letter to opt out if the plan goes through to continue with the elected officials, just because I think that's the right thing to do. I can see getting a stipend, that I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with getting paid after I leave office. And I think that personally, it just seems wrong to me, especially, like I say, for people who work here part-time and are not eligible. And also, an elected official is eligible immediately, although they do have to serve at least 6 months and 1 day to collect any retirement benefits that they would be eligible for. And that's where my main issue is with the plan. I think it's good for employees to have these choices, but when the ordinance said the employees of the city of Sugar Hill, I didn't even realize until very recently that included elected officials. And the ordinance just says the employees. It doesn't say the employees, including elected officials. But I think that, as Mr. Radford said, we're one of 290 cities that participates in this plan. And this package that's good for an employee is good for an employee. But I disagree with elected officials being a part of it, and that's why I am voting for that paragraph to be taken out.
All right, any other comments? Yes.
The only comments I've got with regard to that is, as speaking as somebody who's an elected official that would qualify for this plan, I don't, first off, you'd have to, if you want to collect on it, you have to come back in when you reach retirement age, fill out the paperwork, and then you would be eligible for it. To me, I'm fine with getting rid of it. What I would like to say regarding this is, given some of the comments made up here from some of the city council members regarding this retirement plan for our city employees, if there's a commitment going forward that we retain the plan for our employees, which I am 100% in favor of, I have no problem getting rid of the elected official part of it. so long as we retain the plan for the employees and that there's a commitment from this council to retain this specific plan for our employees is of critical importance for the retention and recruitment of our employees, that we retain this plan. And given some of the comments, I was concerned about that, about the future of our plan. And I know that to be a fact because I had several employees approach me, given some of the comments that were made, over their concerns over the future of this plan. I have no problem getting rid of the elected official benefit. The elected official benefit is a very small amount, and it is of no consequence to myself and to others up here that have served up here. It is not something that we are counting on in our retirement. As $35 a month for every year of service, that's when many of us reach retirement age, will be of no consequence anyway, given the rate of inflation. So I have no problem getting rid of this. The reason that I made the motion last month was I wanted to make it clear, first off, GMA asked us to adopt it as presented, and I had no problem doing an amendment later to get rid of the elected official. That's why I made the motion that I did. But it is of vital importance to myself and to our employees that we retain this program for the future of our city and for the future of our ability to recruit and retain great employees that we have. And we heard from Ms. Landers tonight, the reason we have such great employees like Ms. Landers who can go out and win Local Issuing Authority of the Year is because we have this plan. We talked about the marshals. The reason we are able to recruit and retain great marshals in our city is because of this plan. So it is of vital importance to me that we commit to retaining this plan for our employees going forward. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Page.
I just want to be put on record, Ms. Whittington, for the record, I am 100% in favor of making sure, and will stand by the commitment that we will be here for a pension plan for our employees. That is, like Mr. Anderson echoed, it's a vital importance of retention for our employees. We've had several. We just hired one from off of Buford. I love Buford, but thank you for coming to the city of Sugar Hill. And one of the greatest things is because he could port his retirement over here to the city of Sugar Hill. That is a great recruitment tool that we have. I understand that is not customary in the private sector. I fully understand that, but being a government entity, and there's not a lot of people here, I'm sure our youth council, they know people who are going off to college, and they are not sitting by saying, which city am I going to go work for after I graduate? So we have to keep that in mind of the important work that our city employees do just to help make the cogs continue to turn. Gas bills going out, making sure our gas system is up, filling our potholes, making sure our golf course grass is cut, making sure that the gates are locked at Ridge Lake Park at night. Just so many tiny things that we don't even think about, that we take for granted almost. The pension plan is here to stay for our city employees. So that is my commitment to our city employees.
Thank you, Mr. Page. I'd also like to make a comment. This all started when there were some comments made about defined benefit plans and some concerns about those types of plans. And I'm going to be honest with you, that went like wildfire through our employees. And I had a lot of employees reach out to me with concerns, particularly some younger ones that are just starting with the city. And honestly, I think those comments were unacceptable. And I find them to be a little bit hypocritical because some of the comments were made by someone that has a connection to the Gwinnett County Public School System that has had a defined benefit plan since the 1980s. And so in my mind, I was thinking to myself, well, if it's good enough for you and your family, then it should be good enough for our employees. Having said all of that, there's obviously been a shift to focus on the elected officials that are covered in the plan. And I'm going to echo what Councilmember Anderson said. I don't think any elected official up here even cares about that. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to send back this plan, which GMA has asked for in in its current form and have some actuarial study done and have to redo our pension plan for our employees. And so what I'm hoping for is that we'll send them what we have currently, and when we get that new thing in form, then we can go back and we can adjust what we have sent to them. Yes, Mr. Radford.
The letter that came to us from the general counsel, I've since talked to the general counsel and also the director of the GMEBS program, and there's a sentence in the second to last paragraph that says, please note, GMEBS will not execute documents that have been edited by the city. An amendment would be an edit. I'm not arguing against the motion about removing elected officials. That is a policy and political decision. But I just implore you to adopt it unedited and then take up the action as a separate motion.
All right, and I appreciate that suggestion, but Mr. Hartley, we only have one item to vote on our agenda, so I don't know how we can do a separate motion.
Mayor, you only have one item on your agenda. I think you have a couple of options. I think you could, because of this situation, you could take two separate motions on the same item because they're related, but you're dealing with a separate topic in the separate second motion. So I think that's one way you could do it. I think you could take one motion and then put it back on an agenda to take action on the second item later. I have not personally had any conversations with anyone at GMA, but it makes me uncomfortable from a legal standpoint when we're dealing with a restatement of your plan, to edit it or to amend, make changes to it without having something in writing from GMA and GMEBS that says they're okay with that. As I said, I've not had any conversations with anyone at GMA or GMEBS, but I'm just telling you, as your lawyer, it makes me uncomfortable for you to amend the plan without having permission from GMA and GMEBS to do so. I've not seen any documentation or permission in writing from GMEBS to do that. So I would prefer, as your legal counsel, that you either take two separate motions, one to adopt the restatement as is, and then by separate motion to remove elected officials, and then GMA can and GMEBS can send us the paperwork to sign to do that, or to ask them to send us the paperwork and put it back on a separate council meeting later. Because otherwise there are some unanswered questions, I think, of we stop it, is there an effective date to that? How does it affect people who are already in the plan, who are accruing time towards that? What are the consequences of that? There are a lot of questions that we need answered, in my opinion, before we just go and do it without getting opinions from a retirement attorney who is GMA and GMEBS.
I agree with you, and I honestly would prefer that it be taken up at another meeting when we actually have the language from GMA, because I feel like we're just kind of voting on something that we haven't seen. So that's just my opinion on it. But any further discussion before we take up the motion that we have before us?
I would add a comment here. We're literally talking about a checkbox on a form where there are multiple checkboxes available. We're not talking about rewriting the text of what's there, which I think is what they're really referring to in terms of editing the document. They sent to us a copy of what we currently have in place. The lady I spoke with was Michelle Warner, I believe is her name, and she is the director of GMEBS Retirement and Defined Contribution Programs. But if we need to do it in separate motions, that's fine. But I don't think we're talking about rocket scientists in terms of changing a checkbox on the form.
No, we're going to go on and take the vote on the motion. I'm kind of offended about the rocket scientist comment because I think we have some pension experts at GMA, and I'm going to rely on them to tell me what should and shouldn't be done. Ms. Avery.
I would like to say that based on the advice of the attorney and making sure that we really do this right and to not jeopardize the employee plan, I would rather see this as two separate motions, as Mr. Hartley mentioned. I just think that's the smarter thing to do. And so I would withdraw my second only because of that. So to make sure that we're doing the right steps and not jeopardizing the plan or the employees.
I will withdraw the motion as well.
All right, thank you. Is there a substitute motion?
I make a motion. I will make a motion to restate the GMEBS defined benefit retirement plan restatement as is, and have the option to have as new business a new motion, a new agenda item for eliminating the elected officials' participation.
Mr. Hartley, can that be in the same motion? We're essentially amending the agenda.
I think, no, I don't, that's not the way I understood the motion, Mayor. The way I understood so let me clarify, I guess. So Ms. Avery, would you like to have that agenda item tonight or at a future meeting?
At next month's meeting.
Okay, so I think that's fine, the way she stated it. And
Got it.
So we'll re-adopt this as a statement if it gets a second and is approved. And then next month, you'll add the new item to delete elected officials.
Sounds great. All right, I have a motion from Ms. Avery. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Page. Any discussion before I call the vote? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on to item number 3, which is municipal code amendment. That is Mr. Awana. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Item number 2, and that is a public hearing. Mr. Awana, I'll hand it over to you to start that.
Megan and Aubrey Daniels are requesting design review approval for a carport and storage building at home they own at 4882 Lanier Avenue. The Daniels had already revised their design for the roof pitch based on comments from our building inspector, Mauricio. Just before the last meeting, we just missed communicating to each other as we process the concurrent reviews. So we're presenting the higher roof pitch tonight on the accessory building. Potentially, after some discussion at a later time, the City Council might consider instructing planning staff to recommend policy changes so that these might not have to come back to you for design review approval. The proposed design is consistent with the existing home. It's a great example of reinvestment in the neighborhood. Staff recommends approval with the condition referencing the updated design we are displaying tonight, and those are dated. You probably can't, you might be able to read the date in the corner, dated 4/23/2024. That's April 23rd. I do have paper copies if anybody would like to see those before proceeding with the hearing. These are the exhibits that we're recommending attach to approval of the plan and buildings. The recommendation is for approval of the site plan and the buildings and material and architectural detail with the one condition referencing the attached exhibits with the updated date.
Thank you, Mr. Awana. I know we talked about this during work session, but are there questions of Mr. Awana before I open up the public hearing? All right. We will now open up the public hearing, and we will start. The first 10 minutes will be those speaking in support of the application, and that typically involves the applicant. Is the applicant here? Yes. Would you like to come forward and talk about the project? And please give your name and address, please.
My name is Aubrey Daniels. I live at 4882 Linear Avenue. I just wanted to thank you again for considering this application for our carport. As you've seen on the design plans and on all of our revised documents, the carport is consistent with the aesthetic of the home. I think it is a great reinvestment opportunity for our land. My wife and I bought this house actually back in October. We're 24 years old. It's our first home. We're very excited to really pick it up and kind of make the city proud of it. It really started with the driveway that we had put in when they told us that we were in the town center overlay. We had a lot of back and forth about what that means and the different kind of constrictions that we would be allowed to run with for any kind of project there. And so that really had us take this very seriously. We've been in direct communication with our contractor, and we have made sure that he understands that this has to be done very, very carefully. It has to substantially look just like the review that you've seen on the screen. And we have complete faith in him. Just like our driveway is really just a one-to-one representation of what he drew out for us. And so it's also a great opportunity for us to get some stuff off of our lawn. That storage shed in the back is going to continue to fill up with equipment as we do more projects around the house, clean up some of the weeds, clean up some of the brush in the back. And as we invest in lawnmowers and weed whackers and things of that nature, we would really like a space to keep that stuff so that we can continue to be proud of our front lawn and the front of our house as we continue to spruce it up. So one more time, thank you so much for considering our proposal. And do you guys have any questions about any of the building materials that can be found in the plan or anything else of that nature?
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Any questions of Mr. Daniels? All right. Thank you for your time. Is there anybody else here that might be here to speak in support? All right. If not, we'll close that period of time, and you have some rebuttal time left if you need it. We'll now move to the 10 minutes for those that might be here to speak in opposition to the application. And I do not see anybody, so we will close that time period, and I don't think there's any need for you to come up and do rebuttal. But are there any last questions of Mr. Awana from City Council about the project? Yes, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Awana, I appreciate your comments regarding doing some policy changes, because as much as I love hearing Mr. Daniels' story, which I think is a great story about reinvestment in Sugar Hill, we should not be putting somebody through this process for building a carport. So I would fully support changing our process to allow for something like this. It speeds up the process for them, for other folks who are trying to do reinvestment. I think the intention of the DRB was for substantial projects in downtown, not to put poor homeowners through a carport process that takes them a month or two just to get an approval. So I think I'm glad to hear Mr. Awana say that. And Mr. Daniels, I appreciate your investment in our city. You being here as a young resident, coming to our city, that's huge to the future of our city. And so I appreciate your reinvestment in our city and love to hear that story. I just hate that you have to go through this entire process just to tell that story. So I think we can streamline that for you and still hear that story, but not have to put you through this process.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any other questions or comments before I call the vote? Call for the motion. All right. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve DRB TCO 24-001 with the one, with the one condition, final design shall substantially resemble the attached exhibits labeled Exhibit 1 through 5 with the updated date of 4/23/2024.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Hicks. Any further discussion before I call the vote? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Great. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. All right, we'll next move on to item number 3. That is the municipal code amendment for the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District. Mr. Awana.
This is a code amendment to revise the building code to align with the model code put forward by the Metropolitan North Georgia Water Planning District. If I have to refer to it again, I'll just say Metro Water District. I got a little bit tongue-tied over the acronyms last month, and I think I've got it straight now, but this was required as part of our compliance related to Georgia Environmental Protection Division, EPD, and the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems Permit Program. That acronym is MS4. It's required for us to conduct land disturbance activities and discharge stormwater to waters of the U.S. and the state. Other than that, I didn't get to this part last month, but it helps us conserve water using newly available technology and ultimately to maintain reservoir storage and downstream flows for the river. For tonight, we're not actually presenting the code for adoption because it's more stringent than the state code, the state construction code. The ordinance that we're presenting tonight is just to send it to DCA for review. Then there's a process where they give comments if they have them. Then we can adopt the plan probably at the July City Council meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Awana. Are there any questions of Mr. Awana from City Council? All right, if no questions, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to submit the documents to the DCA for review.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Hicks. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Page. Any discussion before I call the vote?
I have a few comments on it. As Mr. Awana mentioned, this is a restriction that's not applied in all parts of the state, lesser parts in this area. And the end result of this is we have to pass it or we will not receive the DCA's qualified local government status. So at the end of the day, we're being required to pass it. They're putting these requirements on us. Some of them I think are going to be more problems for the homeowner, particularly in relation to continual reduced water flow on toilets and those sort of things. I know the intent, and I agree with what Mr. LeMay had mentioned earlier about being good stewards of our resources, and certainly want to do that as part of the Gwinnett County system, at least the northern part. Our water is sent to the Hill Plant and reclaimed. So we do, I think, an excellent job of that. We also use gray water at the golf course, certainly for all sort of conservation measures. Some of the things in here, as I mentioned, shower heads, some additional restrictions on sinks, but then also some of the things regarding irrigation systems, full cutoff valve. Typically, the way you'll see these installed, at least the ones that are currently installed, you're going to have the cutoff valve near the water line, which is near the road, right? And so then it's going to flow to a series of manifolds, and those are controlled by your controller. This mentions having flow restrictions on that controller. You've got to have an automated cutoff valve. I'm not quite sure how that's going to be powered up at the road. If it's just at line level, is the same as the cutoff heads. water, soil monitoring system. And a lot of times these controllers are not in the same place as your sprinkler head. Typically your controller's up next to the house. It may receive lesser water flow there, obviously because it's protected by the house. So I'm just saying that there are a lot of consequences in here that I think will cause more issues from the homeowner than they are likely to solve. Nevertheless, we are here to transmit this on to eventually come back to DCA. So I'm fine passing it forward. I don't like being their enforcement arm. I think if they want to place the restrictions on, they should do it. If there are that great restrictions, they should do it statewide instead of district-wide. But just wanted to add those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkle. Any further comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item number 4. This is the ordinance. This is a Planning Commission attendance policy. Ms. Avery.
Yes, we've had some discussions about a attendance policy for the Planning Commission, as we do for the Downtown Development Authority and the Riverlands Development Authority. And upon research with our city attorney, it has been recommended that the attendance policy, which will read as follows: members of the Planning Commission are expected to attend all meetings of the Planning Commission. Whenever possible, a member of the Planning Commission shall provide a minimum of 24-hour notice of his or her inability to attend a meeting to the Planning and Development Director by phone or email. Following the December Planning Commission meeting, the Planning and Development Director shall inform the City Council if a member has not attended at least 75% of the meetings in that calendar year. Failure to attend at least 75% of the meetings of the Planning Commission in a calendar year shall be considered by the City Council in determining whether to remove a member. Nothing in this provision shall be construed to alter the provision of the Charter of the City of Sugar Hill, Georgia, that states members serve at the pleasure of the City Council. So our attorney is also recommending, due to this attendance, to have the ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the Code of the City of Sugar Hill, Georgia, related to boards and commissions.
Thank you, Ms. Avery. Any questions of Ms. Avery? All right. Is there a motion?
Okay, so I will make the motion to approve the ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the Code of the City of Sugar Hill, Georgia, related to boards and commissions, to add a provision related to Planning Commission attendance policy and for other purposes.
Thank you, Ms. Avery. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion from Mr. Perkle. Any discussion before I call the vote? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. All right. Mr. Radford, do we have a need for executive session? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn our city council meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Mr. Perkle. Is there a second? Second. Second from Mr. Anderson. All those in favor of adjourning our meeting, please raise your right hand. All right, we are adjourned. Thank everybody for being here tonight.